Hey, welcome to the Restaurant Coach Podcast. It is the cure for the common restaurant. I'm telling you, 2021 is off to a wild roller coaster ride. And I am so honored today to be joined by a couple, and I want to say full disclosure that the people on my guest today are Pamela Lee and Darren Manzari. They are partners with me in a company called Restaurants Simplified. And Restaurants Simplified is basically, it's like my mastermind group company. So you probably know the Restaurant Coach brand. Restaurant Simplified is my mastermind group company, and it has two really cool components to it. We have the mastermind group, and then we also have what is known as our KPI dashboard. And we'll talk about that. This is our first part of a 3-part series, and we're going to talk about today. We're going to show you how to grow your profits in the next 30 days. So I want to introduce Darren Manzari. But Darren, I call Darren, my nickname for Darren is he's the profit professor. And then Pamela, I call her the data queen. She's the data queen. She loves data. She loves to take numbers, and she loves to take data and show you how to turn those numbers into gold that actually can spruce up your profitability. So let's start off right away and I'll have Darren kick it off. Darren, and we talk about mastermind groups. And, the power of a mastermind group. Napoleon Hill talks about the power of a mastermind group in his book, in a lot of his stuff. What do you think is the biggest benefit you see in being in a mastermind group?
Well, thank you, Donald. And thanks for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. So to answer your question, there's a lot of benefits, right? So you're asking me to pick like one of them, right? But one of the biggest benefits, other than learning from other people, not having to make the same mistakes that people have made already.
Oh yeah.
Is I would say the synergy that comes from a mastermind group. Okay. So I'm in a group and I have a question and I ask the question, and the question is usually because I'm trying to do something in my restaurant or I have an idea for something. But then all of a sudden someone else answers the question, and they don't just give me an answer, but they actually take my idea and build it to the next level. And then all of a sudden someone else jumps in and goes, I've seen something like, and before you know it, your idea has gone from a level 7 to a level 9, or maybe even a level 5 to level 9. So I can't say enough about the synergistic approach to a mastermind, or a synergistic value, of just sharing ideas of like-minded people who could just capitalize that. Because if you think that you're going to think of everything on your own, you're not going to do it.
Right. And Pam, what would you add to that about the power of a mastermind? Because you've been in our mastermind group now for a while.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what Darren said, but also I think iron sharpens iron. So these people, even if you're at the top of your game and you've been successful in business, successful at owning and operating a restaurant, you're still able to learn from other people. There's always things to learn. And I think the three of us all consider ourselves lifelong learners, and that's what Master Group does for you. So also, I have a psychology background, and so it's kind of the Gestalt theory where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So if you were to take the collective knowledge of everybody, it's going to be even more when you put all those people in a group, because of exactly what Darren said. We can all learn from each other and build on each other's ideas.
Exactly. Yeah. And, we have people in our mastermind group that actually some of people in our mastermind group have been in business like 20, 30 years before they joined our mastermind group. And the common thing we hear from a lot of them is that, I wish I would have known about this 20, 30 years ago. It would have saved me so much heartache. It would have saved me so many mistakes. I could have probably be so much farther along, but I say, well, better late than never, right?
Exactly right.
Exactly. So, being able to pivot and change right now is huge. And it's really paramount. What are some ways that that you can remember that we've been recommending to people in our mastermind group how to shift their business model?
Pam, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Ladies first.
Okay, I'll go first this time. The thing that comes to mind, we've been talking a lot about hiring, because there's a lot of places in the country that are having a hard time finding people to, the business has gotten busier. People are starting to go out to restaurants more often. And so now the challenge is, where do I find people to work for me?
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that folks on this call, who are listening can relate to, but we've talked a lot about that with our folks, and there's definitely a pivot happening in figuring out where to find good people and how to recruit them.
Darren?
Absolutely. Thank you, Pam, for that. That was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
When people think about pivoting, they almost think they need a totally different business model, right? Because to think pivot, I'm going in one direction, now I have to go in another direction. But you don't have to think of it as such a drastic pivot, right? So like one pivot that we did was we expanded on our takeout, right? But I think most restaurants did that, right? They just do something like that. But another pivot we did was we added a bakery, right? So we added baked goods, which increased our dessert sales. Another small pivot we did, and this could sound counterproductive to some of the people listening here, but we increased our staff to give better service. Now, yes, that increased our payroll, but what it did was it gave us an increase in guest check average because we increased wine sales, we increased dessert sales. So there's a lot of little internal pivoting that you could do within a company that you don't realize is right there at your fingertips. And, so many people think, well, if I pivot, how long will it take to see results? If you do the right pivot, you can see results tonight. At your dinner service this evening. So don't be afraid to try these small changes and these small course changes, since you're talking about pivoting.
Exactly. That is so true. Yeah. The thing that we try to help our mastermind members understand is that, we can give you tools all day, but if you don't implement them, they're really just, kind of useless. So, yeah. And we like to hold people. The biggest thing I think about a mastermind group is that you have the accountability factor. You have three of us, not just me. You have three of us that you could reach out to with questions, but also three people that are actually going to hold you to the fire and actually make sure that you are accountable and that you are implementing the tools that we talk about.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about tools, and I love it when you use that as a word because I picture a toolbox, right? My early background was in the automotive industry, so I picture a toolbox. And this would be like, you go into a business or you go into a person's house and they're working on something, right? They're building a deck, they're doing something. And you say, hey, I got some tools that'll probably help you. And you drop a whole toolbox, right on the floor, right at their feet. And I'm sure this will help you. And then you come back the next day to see how they're doing. And the toolbox is sitting in the same place. It's not even open yet, right? And then you come back the next week and the toolbox, and here's the guy struggling on his deck. And you're like, the tool that you're looking for is in that toolbox. I gave it to you. I lent it to you over a week ago, and it would have made this job so much easier. And even then, sometimes they go, oh, I didn't realize that. And then you come back a day later, toolbox still not open yet. And I see this. I've been working in the business industry, in multiple industries for over 30 years. And sometimes you visit clients and you're having the same conversations over and over and over again for months at a time. Because they're not using the tools. Yeah.
So one of the reasons I made a shift back in 2008 from just consulting to coaching, because I really got disheartened and kind of felt bad. I'd go in and do consulting, and and you have a consulting background, Darren, and also Pam comes from a consulting background. I come in, I tell you exactly what to do. I give you the plan, and then I go, all right, thanks a lot, so much, shake your hand, take off. And then I call to follow up. Hey, how's it going? Well, what happened? We didn't really implement everything but I gave you all the tools. Yeah, we just, I had some pushback from the staff, and then I just felt like it wasn't a good time. And then, I just kind of got out of the habit. And so I felt really bad that, these people pay a lot of money for consulting. And then they only maybe applied 10% of it. So that's why I made the big shift into coaching, because coaching to me is more and like mastermind groups are the same thing. We're there with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
We're not just going to give you tools and say, there you go. Like Darren said, I'm not going to drop a toolbox off on your floor and say, all right, I'll see you next week. No, that's not how we do it. No, we're actually going to hold you accountable, and we're going to show you the tools, and we're going to help you work through them too. So
that's right.
Which kind of leads me to my next kind of question or topic is leadership. Leadership is critical. I mean, it's so critical in restaurants. What do you think is the number one trait that a leader needs today in 2021?
Can I go first again?
Yeah,
go
please.
Take it.
Okay, I'm going to state the obvious. It's good communication. I mean, it's just being able to communicate in a clear and effective way. And communication, there's so much involved in that. So you could unpack that all day. But making sure that your team is aware of the expectations of them, making sure that you're correcting things at the time that they're happening in a way that's productive and not, inserting fear into your culture. And so it's just, there's so much involved, but good, clear, productive communication, I think is the most important trait.
Exactly.
All right. So, it's hard to even counter what Pam just said, because I agree with her, right? Communication could either make or break your organization. Okay. Whether it's your internal team, whether it's your circle, your employees. Without communication, it's over. Okay. But to answer the question, something other than communication, John Maxwell has a great book out called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And there's 21 laws of leadership, right? According to that book, every one of them is important, right? So you're going to ask me to pick one. So I'm going to say the most critical aspect of leadership, I think, is the ability to lead yourself. I'm going to say it's your mindset. Okay. Because while everything is important, right? And I'm not, like Pam said, communication. Okay. I don't care. You could get all of the other 20 laws right. If you don't communicate right, your company's falling apart. Right. So I agree with that. So just to give another aspect, I would say, look in the mirror. Okay. When my son's a speaker and he says your biggest opponent or your biggest competitor stares back at you in the mirror every day. And I believe that that's true. And an owner that doesn't have the right mindset, right? And we're talking about, are you dealing from abundance mindset or do you have a scarcity mindset? Do you have a limited view of what you could do, or do you have an unlimited view where my potential is unlimited? Am I believing the stories when I cast vision to my crew? Do I believe it myself internally? Right? If I'm going to say to my crew, hey, we're going to be okay, we're going to get there, and inside I'm crumbling, right? Saying, oh my God, I hope we could do that. Then it's all wrong. Nothing matches. So I would say the ability to lead yourself through this crisis with the confidence that you're going to get through it and you're going to guide your team through, then go ahead and go for it and start exactly where Pam said. Start with good communication. Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. And I say in both of my books, your restaurant sucks and your restaurant still sucks. I say it all the time. All business problems are people problems. The other side of that coin, I always say, is all people problems are communication problems. And here's the thing. Are you going to get it right 100% of the time? No. I'm just as guilty as everybody else. Human beings, we make mistakes. We don't communicate. We don't articulate sometimes, or we say the wrong words. The best thing you can do is just recognize it, apologize, be sincere about it, and then move forward. Are you going to get it right every day? No. But that's why, you're human. You're going to make mistakes.
Donald, I'm a pilot. And if I was taking a trip to see you, right? Like, let's say I want to go to Donald's house right now. I would take off, from my local airport here in Spearfish, and I would put in the coordinates of Donald's airport, whatever's closest to his house. And then right after liftoff, right, as soon as I get the plane configured, and, gears up and everything's ready, the first thing I do is I click the autopilot on, because I've already programmed this course into the autopilot. And a lot of people think that the autopilot flies from point A to point B, but it doesn't. What it does is looking at point B, and then all of a sudden the winds are blowing from the left side of the plane, and now we're going off course a little bit. So the autopilot picks that up and he steers the plane to the left. Yep. But you know what? He overshoots the course, and then he goes, oh, I got to go back to the right. And then I got to go back to the left, and I got to go back to the right. And what you don't realize is your plane is off course probably 95% of the time. Exactly. It's constantly failing. Okay. It's never hitting the mark, but because it knows its end result, it sees the vision, it sees where it's heading, and it's going to keep correcting the course back and forth. Even though it's failing, it's going to say, let's just correct until it lands right on the dime, right on that runway where it needs to be. And that's the way business is. You have a vision for your business, and you're going to meet with obstacles. You're going to meet with failures. And the trick is to just, okay, we hit a bump, correct, course correct, get up, start again, fix this, start again, course correct. And eventually you'll get to your destination. You will get there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good analogy. So, the hospitality industry to me is all about giving. And, and when we're in the hospitality industry, we give and give and give to others. But giving to ourselves, I think, is probably one of the most neglected things. And we talk about this, like we preach about it in our mastermind group, is about self-care. What do each of you do for self-care?
Well, I'll go first again.
Ladies first.
I'll tell you, I have 3 pretty young kids, 3 to 10 years old, and very busy life. I'm a career person. And so there's not a lot of time for self-care. But if there's one thing that I do always make time for, it's exercise, because I know how much of a difference it makes in just how I feel and my mindset for the day and everything else. It really almost feels like my medicine to be able to go to the gym and burn everything off, burn all the junk off, and then just kind of have a calm mindset for the rest of the day. It gets rid of stress. So that's my big self-care. Okay.
That's excellent. I don't do anything. I just hope it's all going to work out. No. No, I'm just saying that because Donald hates the word hope. So
I hate the word hope. Yeah. Hope's not
I'll just throw that in to get him going a little bit. No, I wish I would do even more self-care, but I watch my diet. I do try to exercise. I don't exercise regularly. I need to get better on that. So, as soon as the weather's good, then I exercise regularly, because I bicycle, I mountain bike every day. I mountain bike with Pam's husband a lot, her husband Dusty. So he's a good partner for me to do that, because I could almost call him at any time. And he's like, yep, I'm up for it. Let's go. Very competitive. And he pushes me. I think you need someone to push you. Mm-hmm. But my winter months is where I struggle, right? And that's where I do have to get better on self-care. Mm-hmm. But I do try. So I'm not hitting my 10 on self-care. I'll give myself a 5 maybe, or a 6, but that's what I do.
Hey, you have a bike in your house. I know you do.
I do bike in my house. And it's funny. We have a movie room downstairs.
Yeah.
And my wife came home, this was a couple of weeks ago, and there's my bike right in the middle of the movie room. And she's like, oh, that's a nice piece of furniture. I took it out of our gym and I put it in the movie room.
Yeah.
Well, we watch movies every night. I said, so this enables me to exercise while we're watching
the
movie.
No extra net time, right? No extra time.
Correct.
Yeah. I'll watch like educational stuff while I'm like working out. If I'm at home, I have like a little elliptical thing. And or I have like my little rebounder here in my office. I'll watch like some educational stuff while I'm working out, or I'll listen to podcasts while I'm working out. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
But I do want to show you one thing about self-care, if I can. And I know we're on a podcast, so people can't see this, I guess, right? So maybe this is a thing to do.
There's going to be a video too, so they can see both. But we'll try to explain what you got here.
Okay, so for the people on the podcast, I'm holding up my journal. Okay.
Yep.
And one thing I do for self-care, and this is really mental self-care and business self-care and health self-care, is I try to journal every day. And I don't beat myself up. If I miss my journal, I don't get time for it today, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'll just do it tomorrow. But journaling is so good because it gives your mind a chance. Okay, so you're exercising your muscles if you're in the gym.
Right.
You're taking care of your body if you're eating healthy. But what are you doing to exercise your mind and your thoughts and your vision? And what self-care are you doing in that aspect? And that's where journaling comes in, right? So if you don't journal, I would highly recommend it. Tony Robbins taught me this, 30 years ago. He said, Darren, if your life's worth living, it's worth recording, right? Journal, keep track of it. And now I could look back on journals from when I was 20 years old, or 22 years old, and say, hey, this was a different person back then, and what lessons have I learned in the last years?
Which in our mastermind group, you share a lot of those old journal entries. Like, this is 24-year-old Darren.
Yes.
Hey, a 20-year-old Darren's a lot different than 50-year-old Darren,
Yeah, absolutely it is. Correct.
Yeah. Different mindset, different kind of thing. It's really amazing. I journal in the morning, every morning. because I'm like you. I just like it. I like to get the stuff out of my head and get it on the paper where I have something, it just kind of helps me process a lot of stuff. If I don't journal, I'm a little edgy, I think.
Yeah, it could be because you're missing something. Yeah.
Because you know why? It's all staying in my head and it's just processing in my head. I think I have a better opportunity to process through stuff if I get out of my head, get it on paper. And then, and I'm a kind of journaler. I'll write stuff and then I'll draw like lines and I'll draw like off, it kind of goes into tangents, which is great for me because that's how I process, I guess. So, yeah.
Very good.
There's probably some psychological thing behind it Pam could jump into since she's the resident psychologist.
Send me your journal.
I'll send you your journal. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get psychoanalyzed by Pam. I do not need that. Thank you. I don't think Pam wants to get up in there.
Pam's. I always feel like Pam's always analyzing. Someday I'm going to get the big report. She's going to say, okay, here are all my notes.
She is always analyzing. What are you talking about? She's always analyzing us. I always feel like she's analyzing.
Great secrets. I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you what I know. No,
yeah. She watches I know she's like watching my social media like, oh, Donald, I'm telling you. So, in our mastermind group, one of the things we really talk about, we teach a triad for culture, which includes mission, core values, and vision. I'm going to ask each of you, why do you think each one of those is so important to restaurant success? Pam?
Well, that's hard to answer because it's so ingrained in my brain that you just have to have them. Mm-hmm. That it's hard to imagine not having them. It gives you guidance. It helps you to explain to your team where you're trying to go and how you plan on getting there and the standards for getting there and what your expectations are. It's the map. I mean, it's everything. Without that, you're blind. You're operating without the senses that you need.
I look at it like a compass. That's the way I always kind of define it, is that's your compass. And anytime I was in the military, I was in pararescue teams. Anytime we got, inserted into a place, first thing you do, we pull out the map and we got the map oriented. You had to know where you were.
Yeah.
You had to.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to know where that starting point is. Mm-hmm. When you talk about culture, if I said, what's the culture of Darren and what's the culture of my family, mm-hmm. That would encompass everything, right? That would encompass how I act, what I believe, what is my level of integrity, what's my level of honesty, right? That's all my culture. Mm-hmm. And you want your business to be an extension of that, right? Exactly. As the owner of the business, you want that to go into your. I'm not going to be one person my whole life and then go into business and be a different person. Oh yeah, I'm honest in life, but not in business. Or I have integrity in life, but not in business, right? I'm not going to do that. So you need it to be a culture. You need to be an extension of yourself, but you have to communicate that, as Pam was saying with the leadership question, you have to communicate that to your team, right? So how do you do that? Well, you do that through your words. You do that through your actions. Don't be afraid to speak up and tell them, right? So that's what I would say about culture. As far as mission and vision, your vision is, where are we heading with this? Like, are we just showing up every day? Like, is your vision of being a restaurant just to feed people every day? Is that your vision? Right? Because if it is, that's pretty easy to accomplish, right? We just open the door and feed people. But I'm hoping that your vision for your company is something bigger, right? Like maybe your vision is to be one of the best restaurants in your area, or to have a 5-star rating on Google. Or, for me, one of our visions is like a Michelin star. There's never been a Michelin starred restaurant in South Dakota, and I want to be the first one. Now, would I take a James Beard Award? Of course I would. Right?
Of course.
But to hit that, whether I obtain it or not someday, that's the vision, right? That's where we're heading with this company. So now, when I see a plate that's not perfect, when I see a table not set right, mm-hmm. when I see a server not interacting with a guest the way they should be, it's very simple. Hey, do you think that situation is getting us closer to our award or getting us further away from our? And nothing else has to be said. That's the end of the communication, and they know exactly in a moment what I'm referring to, mm-hmm. and I think that's very helpful.
Very true. And you mentioned a couple of core values you live by that I know, honesty, integrity. Pam, what's a couple of core values that you live by?
Integrity is a big one. I think
Mhm.
that we've all heard people talk about, putting the shopping cart away when nobody's watching. That's integrity. But applying that to everything in your life, just doing the right thing because you should. And then community is a big one for me. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
I think really came from the fact that I was part of a small community growing up on a ranch where they actually relied on each other to get big jobs done, like the branding and harvesting corn and from the garden. And you needed the community's involvement. And also I was part of a military community. So I really love being connected to something larger than myself. Those are two big ones for me.
Very cool. Very cool. And a mastermind group to me is basically, it's like having, especially in our mastermind group, I know it's like having 3 mentors. Who are some of your mentors, and why do you think having a mentor is so important?
Pam, you want me to go first, or you want to take it again?
Go ahead.
Years ago, I committed to lifelong learning, right?
Mhm.
And I hope I could learn from other people all the time, right? I never, you hear people say, be the smartest man in the room. No,
Exactly.
I don't want to be the smartest man in the room. I want to learn from the people that are smarter than me.
Exactly.
So, some of my mentors in life have been a person named Joe Foote. Joe Foote mentored me a little bit in business, but mentored me in family. How do you be a father? How do you deal with family? How do you, like, so many things, skills that I never could have obtained without knowing Joe.
Right.
My Uncle Clarence, like, mentored me in business. He gave me lessons that, he took 30 years off mistakes that I would have been making. And, I was a young kid when I met Uncle Clarence. He's not really my uncle. He was a customer. And he just became part of my family. So we adopted him as Uncle Clarence. But again, the lessons, this was 30 years ago almost when I met him. And you hear me on the mastermind call all the time. Well, Uncle Clarence told me to do this. Uncle Clarence told me to do that. Right. So those are some mentors that I've had. And then I have, other mentors like Paul Martinelli, Les Brown. I do public speaking. I learn a lot from Les Brown. When I challenge myself in my visions and in what's possible, that type of thinking, Paul Martinelli, right? He just helped me with that. And these are people that, I've worked with professionally and I know them personally, and they're just awesome in my life.
Awesome. Thank you, Darren.
You're welcome.
Pam, how about some of yours?
I've got a few. I'll say I'm talking to 2 of them. I would consider both of you mentors. Again, iron sharpens iron, so I learn from you guys every day. But I'd say 2 big ones for me were my grandfather and my dad. They're ranchers, and the way that they taught things or taught lessons in life, I guess, they have these funny sayings. Like, for example, keep a leg on each side and your mind in the middle. And we're talking about riding a horse, but it's bigger than that, if that makes sense. It's like stay on course and hold your vision, I guess, is relevant to what we're talking about. They've been mentors all my life. And then I had a great teacher in high school, and I had an amazing teacher in college who I've stayed with and have helped shape my career and my career choices throughout life. So I have some really great ones. They're always these old souls, just really wise people.
I find ranchers have like the best metaphors. They have the best ones. Yeah. My dad was Texan, and he used to have some great analogies like don't call down for the thunder if you're not ready for the boom.
Yes.
I remember being a kid going, what the hell does that mean? I don't even know what that means. I learned, but I didn't know what it means at the time.
It's funny, but it also makes you think for a couple minutes, and then it really sinks in. So yeah, they're good ones.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what do you see as the new normal for restaurants? We're coming out of the pandemic. We're coming out. Vaccines rolling out. Restaurants. States are opening back up 100%. I know Darren has a summer home down in Florida. I'm in Arizona. Restaurants here are open 100%. Things are starting to move, shift back. What do you think is going to be like the new normal for restaurants? Pam?
To be honest, I think it kind of remains to be seen a little bit because we're not exactly back to some kind of normal or in a new normal exactly. The vaccine's coming out, but some people are still a little bit fearful of going out. We don't know exactly how effective the vaccine's going to be. Mm-hmm. But restaurants have changed, and they largely went to less contact and less touch and more digital and things like that. But people are craving the way it used to be, and so trying to figure out that right balance between keeping everybody safe but still having that experience that you want when you go out to eat at a restaurant. Right. I think the new normal for the foreseeable, well, at least for a couple of years at least, is trying to find a balance and remaining flexible and being able to pivot a little bit. Beyond that, I'm going to let Darren have a say.
Well, I'm going to give you an answer. I don't know if this is going to be what you want to hear or not, Donald, so we'll see. But I believe there was an old normal. Okay, so before COVID, there was a standard business model for restaurants, and 90% of the restaurants fit into that model. You go to a restaurant, you almost know what to expect. You're going to be seated by a host or a hostess, and you're going to get to your table, and the routine, okay? And then COVID hit, and it broke all that up. It shook everything up. It just just killed everything.
I call it a snow globe.
Yeah, it was like a snow globe. The people on the podcast couldn't see me shaking my hand like the snow globe, but that's what it was like. And I want to say, you talked about earlier, about pivoting, and you talked about that. And I just want to commend so many restaurants out there that I saw come up with ideas that were so outside the lines. It was so out of the box thinking. It was unique. It was creative. And I mean, if I could meet each one of these people individually, I'd be shaking their hands saying, this was phenomenal. What a great decision you made. So now looking at that, I want to say there is not going to be a new normal. I think the future is whatever they want to make out of it. I think we've opened up the box and let people realize you're serving food. How do you want to do it? Be unique, be creative, do it in a different way. And let's break up. I don't want to see a new normal where everybody kind of goes back into one sort of mode again. I love the creativity that we've seen. I love the uniqueness. Like I said, what I see from people doing out there, I'm amazed. I mean, hats off to you. You've done a phenomenal job, and I'm learning from you, right? So we're talking about mentors. You creative restaurateurs out there, I'm learning from you. So thank you for your creativity. Keep it up. You're doing a wonderful job, and the future is whatever you want to make out of it.
All right, I'm gonna add on another question here to that part about the new normal, and in fact, I'm gonna ask you. So, Pam, how comfortable are you? You go to Arizona, it's 100% open. How comfortable are you sitting at a table and the table next to you is full too? How comfortable are you going out to restaurants nowadays?
I'm good, but then I come from South Dakota where we didn't really have the same.
I think COVID skipped South Dakota. I mean,
we had our share of cases, but we didn't have the lockdowns as much as other people did. We didn't have the mandatory masks like other places did. So I'm good, but I may not be the norm.
How about you, Darren?
I'm pretty good too. For people that don't know South Dakota and say, wait a minute, I read about South Dakota in the papers. You guys had it terrible. We didn't. We have one main populace all the way on the eastern side of the state, down by Sioux Falls and Sioux City. And then that makes up a huge part of our population. And then everybody else is just scattered around the rest of the state. So, Pam and I are both out on the western or the northwestern part of the state. And, if you didn't turn your TV on, you wouldn't know COVID existed. You'd be like, what are you guys talking about? It was very rare here. I could still remember when we had one case, right? Or two cases. We didn't have a lot. But I don't get too nervous. If there was someone sitting right next to me and they were sneezing and coughing, but I'm a germaphobe. Before COVID, I was a germaphobe. so that would bother me. But no, I don't walk around with masks on. We spaced our tables out in our restaurant just to help people feel safe and feel a little bit more secure. Exactly. We do sterilization every night in our restaurant, so that people feel secure, and hopefully we are helping with that system. but it doesn't bother me. I haven't been vaccinated yet. I travel on airplanes. So I haven't worried about it. Hopefully I'm not being negligent on it, but so far it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. So, and one of the things we talk about in our mastermind groups a lot is culture. Culture. How influential do you think, or I mean, actually change it. What do you think is the key to creating a great culture? Pam?
Well, oh boy. I think that it starts from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you can't correct a bad culture, but the key, I think, is start early in creating the culture you want.
Mm-hmm.
Be very diligent in the fact that you are creating a culture, not just letting one happen. And then it starts from the top. I mean, the leader is in charge of making sure that culture is created and is protected. And then you also have to make sure that you're bringing the right people into your organization that are willing, able, and wanting to help you maintain that culture that you want.
Exactly. Now you said, I think bad cultures can be corrected. It just takes a long time. Yeah. Because one of the things I get hired to do a lot in the coaching programs is I get hired to come in and help create a better culture. And I tell people this is that however long your restaurant's been running amok, it's going to take half of that time just to get you back to normal. So like if you're running a restaurant for a year and you had a toxic culture, it's going to take me at least 6 months to get you back to normalized. And then it'll probably take me 2 or 3 months just to get you in the right direction. So it's not an overnight fix, trust me. Toxic cultures are very, very hard to change, but they can be done. Takes a lot of work though. So much better to set up from the beginning like Darren did. Darren opened up his first restaurant and he set up everything right from the beginning. Yeah,
it's always easier to build it right than it is to rebuild it, right? Because then you have to tear it down, right? And that's what I'm about, Donald. That's why it takes you so long. Mm-hmm. It would be like, imagine if I built my house and we found out the foundation was cracked or the foundation was crooked. Mm-hmm. They'd have to tear the house down, redo the foundation, and then rebuild the house, right? And that's what Donald has to do in restaurants with this bad culture. You got to tear everything down and start over again. Sure. If the culture of the owners isn't good, right? Maybe the owners have a toxic culture in their household. Mm-hmm. And, that's even harder, right? That I think is getting towards what Pam was saying. How do you fix that, right? Yeah. That's really difficult to fix, because what you're doing is you're imposing a better culture, right? But probably a lot of that comes from you. A lot of that is your culture. We have to make sure the owners adopt that. Culture is a funny one. Like I said, it's an extension of who the people are, and it starts with the owner, right? So I guess if I wanted to fix a culture, I would have to look at the owners first mm-hmm. and say, where is this all coming from, right? And it's all coming from you. If the culture is not what you want, maybe that's not what you wanted as a culture, and now the restaurant's gone off kilter here a little bit. I see it from a lot of owners not correcting problems as they're occurring, and we have something that we say, if you're not correcting it, you're
condoning it.
That's it. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to condone bad behavior. Just correct it. Just fix it. Just get it right. I just had this happen today in my own restaurant just before I came here to this podcast. Mm-hmm. I never eat what's on the menu because I want the cooks to be a little bit creative with me, right? So I went in and I spoke to one of the cooks and he goes, "What do you feel like?" I go, "I don't want anything heavy. I want a salad." I go, "But I want something spicy, like a Jamaican jerk or something like that." And we own an Italian restaurant, so I'm pushing him out of his comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So he made me a phenomenal salad with Jamaican jerk chicken on top of it. I mean, it was unbelievable. And it had this great dressing on it, and it was like a lemon dressing. And you know me, I have a lactose intolerance, right? So what question would I normally ask? Hey, this is phenomenal. Is there dairy in the dressing?
Right.
Well, he didn't prep the dressing. He didn't make the dressing. The dressing was already made by a previous cook. He goes, "I'm not sure."
Uh-oh.
Not sure. Who would know? Chris would know. Where's Chris? He'll be back in 10 minutes. Gotcha. Now, Chris is my kitchen manager. So this was a problem that I didn't realize was there. We uncovered it right away. Second Chris walked in the door. Chris, do you realize? Oh, no, you're fine. There's no dairy in that. It's not my question anymore. I don't care about the dairy now. I want to know why every single person in that kitchen couldn't answer this question.
Exactly.
That's what I want to know. Right now, was I being mean? Was I being harsh? No. But I was being enough of, we talk about a velvet covered brick. We'll talk about that another day. But I was being a little brick, Darren. I'm saying this is a non-negotiable. I said, I want a chart on the wall of every single menu item we create here, every dressing, and I want every allergen listed on it. I want you to write that down. I want it in printed. I'm going to laminate it. I'm going to hang it in the kitchen. Every server, every cook, everybody should be able to answer this question immediately on anything. Does it contain this? Does it contain this? Does it contain this? I'm glad Chris knows the answer, but I want everyone to know the answer. So this is where like culture could get off target, because if that happened in your restaurant, would you take such a stand like I took to correct it? And that's what we do in our restaurant. We correct everything we see so that we could live by, a culture called Kaizen, right? Where we've adopted that, where we're always trying to get better. It could always be better. I don't care how good it is, it could be better. And that's what we try to do. We try to make it better.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that we find is that restaurants don't set and maintain their standards. They set standards really high when they first open, but then as the team pushes back, those standards start lowering. And the next thing you know, your restaurant's kind of a pale vision of what you wanted it to be. It just becomes this thing. And that's when it starts running you. And we always want you to have control. We don't want your restaurant to run you into the ground. So
that's exactly right. I'll give you a good analogy. And this comes from my wife. She was talking to the crew last week. We were talking about this. And she goes, remember when you were a kid and you used to go to the beach, and your parents would set up on the sand, you set up a blanket on the sand, and you're a kid and you go play in the water. Mm-hmm. And about 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes goes by and you look up on the beach, your parents are gone. Where are your parents? And what you didn't realize was that the current was like just inch by inch by inch, little by little, you drifted 30 feet down the beach. You drifted 40 feet down the beach. And all of a sudden you're like really nervous. Where'd my parents go? And that's what happens in a restaurant. If you're not careful, you drift away from the vision. You drift away from your culture, just an inch an hour, or an inch a day. It's so minute, you're not even noticing it's happening. And before you know it, a month goes by, or 2 months goes by, or a year goes by. This isn't what we had in mind. This isn't the restaurant we had planned for. We're not heading towards our, Michelin star. What happened here? And it was because that current just like took you. It was just a slight pressure every day. So we want to try to recognize that and stay on course, right? And if anything, we want to drift towards the positive, not drift towards the negative.
Exactly. So what's one thing you can suggest right now that restaurants can do to stand out in 2021? Pam?
Yeah, I would say because of the year that we've had, and because we all lived through COVID, and some of us are still living through COVID, especially in certain parts of the country, I think that human connection is probably the best thing that restaurants can do to stand out. And so this is kind of, if you listen to Donald, you've probably heard him talk about how important videos are in marketing, and they can allow you to let your clients, your customers see you and get to know you. I have a leg in education, so we talk about clients a lot. Your guests, yes, thank you. You can let your guests get to know you even before they set foot in your restaurant, and just have that feeling of, if I go there, it's going to give me a certain feeling, and a feeling of connection, and again, community, as that's one of my core values.
Exactly.
That's kind of, Donald, that's kind of your advice, but I think it's great advice. It's
good. It's awesome advice. It's good advice. Darren?
Yeah, I'm going to just agree with Pam a little bit here she ended it with, it's a feeling, and I think the whole COVID crisis has had people locked up in their homes or locked up in their houses or locked up in their cities or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Nervous for a year. It's been a year, right? And we want that feeling of, I'm tired of being in jail for a year. I want to get out. I want to go to a restaurant. And I see this with some people, like I have some great customers. I'm not going to name them in case someday they see the podcast here, but they come in and they haven't eaten in the restaurant. They just have been doing takeout for like a year. Mm-hmm. And one of them said to me the other day, hey, I got vaccinated. So in 14 days, I'm going to be able to come into this restaurant again. And I want to say to him, you could have came into this restaurant 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we would have put you in a table away from everybody else. It's beautiful out. You could eat outside if you want. Like, you've been living in fear for all this time. And now you think you got the vaccine, you're free. Life's back to normal again. Well, I'm glad you feel that way. You still have to be careful. The vaccine isn't the end all to be all.
Mm-hmm.
But you could have been doing this 6 months ago. Just take a little precautions, wear your mask, call us. We'll seat you at a table upstairs all by yourself, right? If you want. But that sense of normalcy, and Pam was right when she said it's a feeling. It's a feeling of safety. It's a feeling of security. It's a feeling of normalcy, whatever you want to call it. But buying is an emotional response, right? And dining is, a way to say, hey, let's break bread together, right? It's a feeling. It's just like Pam said, it's a feeling. So what could you do different in your restaurant to give people that feeling, whether it's a feeling of security, a feeling of normalcy, a feeling of family, a feeling of, connection? Try to figure out what it is that's missing in your community and promote that. Do something unique. Don't follow the guy next door. Don't do what the restaurant down the block is doing. Run your own race and provide that to your guests.
Exactly. That's so perfect. Yeah. And another thing you can do to stand out is, I like to say, is one of the things that we like to focus our mastermind group on is we get away from vanity metrics. And vanity metrics is sales. And yes. What happened when COVID hit? Everyone's sales dropped like through the floor. And everyone was freaking out. Oh my God, my sales dropped down to like 25%. So what we did with our mastermind group is like, all right, let's not focus on the sales number. Let's focus on some other key performance indicators, some other KPIs. And I'm going to tell everyone right now, one of the reasons I partnered up with Darren and Pam is that Darren created this amazing platform. And, with him and Pam behind the helm on this thing, this is a tool that restaurants need. And there are, I'm going to tell you right now, if you Google, restaurant software, there's dozens and dozens of restaurant software out there. But the thing I love about the KPI kind of platform, the dashboard as we call it, and I'll kind of give you a preview, you can kind of see it's this really beautiful dashboard. And think of it like almost like a car. And what we do is in our mastermind group, I always say it's like a 1-2 punch. We're not only going to help you kind of track and measure and manage your KPIs, your key performance indicators, but we're also in the mastermind group, we're going to coach you on how to improve them, which that itself is life-changing, because a lot of people are like, all right, my food cost is 32%. Is that good? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What's your theoretical? Or somebody says, like, my discounts and comps are 8%. Is that too high? Yeah, that's way too high.
Way too high.
How do I lower them? And that's the thing. You look at these gauges, and you get your POS report, and Pam's like the expert on the data side, but and she can get lost in the data part. But you can dig into your POS system and you can spend hours in there searching for data. And just having the data itself doesn't do anything. You got to have an action plan on how to turn that data into results. And that's what I have to say is a Restaurants Simplified kind of mastermind group and the dashboard work hand in hand together to give you those, not only to give you the tool, but also give you the resource to say, all right, hey, Donald, what do I do if, my guest check average is too low? Hey, Donald, or hey, Darren, what do I do if my rev pash seems like it's too low? Hey, Pam, what do I do if my guest check average is not where I want it to be? What do I do? And we work with these people on this. And the reason I'm throwing this out there is I'm going to ask everyone here in the group here what's your favorite KPI? We have 12 that we track in our KPI dashboard. What's your favorite one, Pam?
Donald, this is like asking you to pick a favorite
child. Who's your favorite child, Pam? Don't say it. We'll say it.
It's going to short circuit my brain to ask me to choose my favorite number metric. It doesn't. They're all important, but I would say so. I'm going to cheat a little bit and say that probably my favorite is profit margin because it encompasses most of the other ones, and it's like the ultimate measure of efficiency and how well you're running your business is your profit margin.
How about you, Darren?
That was really good what she said there.
That's good when the profit margin is good. I mean, it's the end all be all, right?
It's the end all to be all. That's it.
What's the average restaurant in the United States make? 5%, which is we think that's a crime. If your restaurant's average, you're making 5% or less, you definitely need to talk to us, and you definitely need to join our mastermind group.
Yeah, absolutely. You said earlier before the question, you said the word vanity metrics, right? And I don't know if I know what you mean by that, but I don't know if everybody knows what you mean by that. But these are these, restaurant owners that say, oh, we did $3 million last year. We did $5 million last year. Right. But what was your profit margin? Right. So let's take your vanity metric of 3 million and let's link it to what Pam just said. What's your profit margin? Well, 3%. Okay. And you think that that's good. Right. So you're walking around happy that you did $3 million. But the problem is when you did $1.5 million because of COVID, if you're still at 3%, now your income went in half. Where we have so many restaurateurs on our mastermind group and that work with us in KPI Mastery that they did half the revenue, if not less, right? Some of them did 1/3 of the revenue. And they say, I've never had so much money in my bank.
Exactly.
Because they went from a 3% profit to a 20% profit. 18% profit. And now they're in for a whole new surprise. They haven't even they don't even realize what's coming down the road because, my Uncle Clarence, I'll tell you an Uncle Clarence story. He would say, Darren, anyone could run a business when there's an abundance of work. Anyone can make money. You could run a sloppy operation and still be profitable. But it takes a real boss. It takes a real owner, a real entrepreneur to make money, make profit when there's no business. Exactly. Right. So what COVID did here, not for everybody, right? So I'm sorry if it didn't do this for you. What COVID did for a lot of people was it taught us to pay attention to food costs. It taught us to pay attention to labor costs, pay attention to your fixed expenses. How do we really run this operation leaner and meaner and increase that profit margin? And now what we have to be careful of is as the floodgates open, and as people start coming back in, that we don't get back into the old habits again, right? What we want to do is we want to keep running this lean, efficient machine that's now making 18% profit margin. And now if you have sales of 2 and 3 million at an 18% profit, now we're making some money, right? Now we're doing good. So I would say, I don't have a favorite KPI. It's like Pam said, it all comes down to profit margin. But too many people focus on profit margin, and then when it's not right, they want to take some kind of action, but they don't know what to take. They don't know what action to take. Right. And this is like, I go into a doctor and, last week I said, doctor, I have this pain, and he says, where's the pain? And I pointed to the pain. I said, oh, it's right here. And he said, okay, well, just here, lay down on the table for a minute. And he put his hand right where it hurts. He goes, is this where it hurts? And I said, yep, right there. That's where it hurts. And he goes, okay, don't move. And he held one hand on that spot. And then with his other hand, he reached for the scalpel and he's about to cut into it. Doc, what are you doing? He goes, well, that's where the pain is. Let's just go in there and fix it. There's got to be something wrong under there. Let's just, well, shouldn't you do some more tests? Don't you want to take some x-rays? So if I went to a doctor like that, you would say I was crazy, right? But yet that's what business owners do. Yep. They see their profit margin's not right, and they do no more testing. They do no more diagnostics. They don't look at any other KPIs. Well, we need more customers. We need more marketing. We need less people. And they start throwing ideas without any diagnostics to back it up, any testing to back it up. And they think it's going to affect profit margin, which is Pam's number one KPI, but it's probably going to adversely affect it.
Right.
You know, you need to look at the other KPIs to figure out where is the problem. How do I diagnose? It's like taking X-rays, taking tests, you know, run on a treadmill. Let's figure out exactly what's wrong. Then we can do the surgery. Then we can fix you.
Yeah. Right? Not only might you adversely affect profit margin by, for example, thinking, well, we just need to get more people in the door. If your variable costs are not under control, you might actually be reducing your profit margin and you're creating more work for yourself.
Correct. There's so much in there that, you know, people need to understand. And you could do this. You could try researching it on your own, or you could join like our mastermind group and learn from the experience of others. In KPI Mastery, that's what we do in a Restaurant Simplified, you know, that uses the dashboard. We actually teach you through the masterminds, you know, exactly, okay, if this is your problem, your profit margin's not, let's explore some of these other KPIs. Let's explore some of these other indicators and figure out where the problem lies, right? And then we can optimize your operation for maximum profitability.
And I'm not going to get too far ahead, but I'm going to tease out a little bit on probably our next episode. This is a 3-part series, by the way, if you're just tuning in now, 3-part series, how to grow your profits. But Darren's going to take you on the next session we're going to do. Not all KPIs are created equal. And Darren's going to explain the difference between a linear and a multiplicative KPI. I'm throwing out the big words now. We're going to talk about what those two are and why not all KPIs are the same, and which ones have the most impact that could actually move the needle for your profitability the fastest. So a little tease out on that for the next episode. So make sure you tune in for that. But let me ask.
I'll look forward to that episode. Yeah,
it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I love that. I love when you explain that kind of stuff. And like, you know, and we talked about mentors before, and like Pam, I also think of both of you as my mentor. I mean, you both have such different experiences in business and the corporate world that you help me kind of grow as a leader and as a coach, which I always am very appreciative of. So let me ask you a question about that then. What essential rules have you learned about business that has made you more successful?
You want to go first this time, Darren?
Oh yeah, I could go first. An essential rule about business: focus on the guest. Make the guest experience as good as it could possibly be, and everything else will kind of follow. Okay, so don't focus on the money. Don't focus on the KPIs. Trying to improve. Start with the guest, right? What is your vision? And our vision for our restaurant is the guest experience. We actually call it the known as experience. And that's most important to me than anything, right? That's more than profit, more than everything. I want that perfect. And then everything else will follow. Everything else could be worked out, you know? So I guess to answer your question, that would be it. You know, don't get too stressed out about everything else. Let's focus on the guest. I always view it as an honor that they came to my establishment. Okay, these people, they work hard for their money, their night off. Maybe it's a special event, right? So like, let's say, you know, Dusty wants to take Pam out for her anniversary. Yeah. If they choose my restaurant, known as, do you know how honored I am about that? There's other restaurants in town they could have chose, right? So now it's my job to do everything to honor that decision and say, hey, I'm going to make this perfect for you. Right, you're going to have a perfect meal here. You're going to have great service. The atmosphere is going to be just what you expect it to be. And if it's not, I'll take full responsibility. We'll figure this out. We'll make it right for you. So that's my most important lesson. Is I always focus on the guest, focus on the guest experience, and never take for granted the value of a customer honoring you with their service, honoring you with their money.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. Oh, damn, Pam, you got to follow up on that. I'm telling you, that's tough.
It is tough. It is tough. I will say I learned this one from the hard way, and it's something that I think is absolutely critical. If you're the leader of an organization, you have to have time to be the leader of an organization. And I think this is something that a lot of restaurant owners can probably relate to, because you find yourself working in your restaurant all the time to the point where that's all you have time to do. You don't have time to think. You don't have time to strategize. You don't have time to evaluate your numbers. You don't have time to create new plans or come up with new ideas. And therefore, your restaurant stays the way it is, and you are stuck continuing to work in your restaurant and not on it. And so, and I've been there. And so I think that's the number one thing with leadership, is make sure that you have time to be the leader. And part of the job of being the leader is being the mastermind of the organization, who's protecting the culture and the core values and everything else. And if you can't figure out how to do that on your own, then that's perfect time to get help from a coach or a mastermind group.
Yeah, and we've all heard it too. You need to work on your business, not in your business. I mean, every consultant in the world throws it out there, but they don't tell you how to do it.
Right.
The goal of all, the goal of the mastermind group we have, and the goal of all my coaching programs is always the same. I'm going to show you how to get the restaurant in the life you desire. So you're not basically chained to your restaurant. We want you definitely to work on your business, not in your business. Darren and his wife own a very successful restaurant in South Dakota, and Darren always likes to make the kind of joke that he doesn't work there.
The employees will ask me a question, and I say that to them. I say, "Why are you asking me this? I don't work here." And then they laugh because they think I do work there, but I don't. And I don't give them the answer. Like, go up the chain. Who's your direct report, right? Who do you report to, and how can you source this information, right? Donald hears me talk about resourcefulness all the time, and so does Pam.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it's never a lack of resources, always a lack of resourcefulness. And you have to be able to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to give myself a job, and I don't want a job. Nancy and I just got back from Florida a week ago. Mm-hmm. And Brooke, my manager and my partner who works at the restaurant, just asked me today. She just sent me a text message. "When are you leaving?" And I said, "We're leaving Monday." Right? And she's probably thinking, "You've only been here for a week. Where are you going on Monday?" "Well, we're going back to Florida for about 10 or 12 days. She goes, "Oh, you'll be back in 12 days?" "No, from there, we're going out to Scottsdale, Arizona for, almost a week. We'll be there 5 days. I won't be back till the end of the month." So we're only a little over a year in business, and I refuse to be chained to my business. That's not going to happen at all. But
this is a good example. Yeah. And this is a good example too. Like Darren, when he decided to open his restaurant, he contacted me to come out and help coach and help him get set up. So we set Darren's operation up from the start the right way. Yeah. So I didn't have to go back and tear down the whole damn thing and rebuild it. We built it right from the beginning. So that's why Darren is actually, he's enjoying being an owner, and his wife's enjoying being an owner, not an operator. So because we did it right the first time around.
Yeah. Yes. And just in case people don't know, that's how Donald and I met. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're opening a restaurant, and I've been a consultant. I work in 25 different countries for 20 plus years. And I know the value of expertise. I know the value of seeking out help to answer these questions. So we said, look, if we're going to open this restaurant, we're good business people. We've been self-employed for 30 plus years. We own multiple businesses. Never owned a restaurant before in my life. This is totally new. I did it because it's a passion of my wife's, right? She wanted to open the restaurant. It was on her bucket list. Always do this. Sure, let's do it. Let's go for it. And first thing I did, who's the best? Who could I seek out that could give me the best advice here? Did some research, came up with Donald's name, called Donald, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got this program. I got that program. What are you talking about program? Donald, I want you here. How much to get you here? Just get on a plane. Why aren't you in the airport already?" And I was joking around. He laughed at the time. But that's what I said to him. Like, why are we still on the phone, Donald? You should be packing.
Should be here.
Right. To be here. Because it didn't matter what it cost. It didn't matter what the money was, because I knew the value was going to be 100x, not 2x, not 4x, not 10x, 100x. Because the lessons he could teach me, I have in perpetuity for the next 10 years, right? It's not like he teaches me stuff and in a year the license to use his knowledge runs out. No, I have that forever, that knowledge. So people who don't put a value on that, I'm just putting it out there. I'm not trying to be salesy here. But if you're not putting a value on professional consultation, you're losing 100 times what it would cost you to seek help and get advice from a professional. So you definitely want to do that for sure. But that is one of the reasons why, we refuse. We own let's say 4 or 5 different businesses, my wife and I. I have partners in different businesses. I own businesses with Pam. I own businesses with Donald. We do a lot of projects together. And to do that, you can't be tied to any one, right? You have to be able to manage your time, and you have to be able to have good people in place. You have to have a good culture for every business. You have to have faith in your staff. You have to have trust in your staff. And then you make the right decisions when things don't go right? You just handle the problem, you handle the people, whatever the situation is, you take care of it. But yes, get help, get professional guidance, and you won't be tied to your business.
Exactly. Let me ask you a question. Name a book, an audiobook, or a podcast that you recommend.
You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Go ahead, because I'm weighing out options right now. Go ahead.
Okay, so if I turn my camera around, I mean, you could see all the books behind me, right? The people on the podcast.
You can see all mine. Yeah, I have tons of books behind me too.
Hundreds of books, right? I'm going to give you 2. Can I give 2 books? Is that okay?
Give 2. Give 2. Yeah, 2's fine.
Okay. So I got to grab one right here.
So we're going to tease out something to you also too. So part of our advanced mastermind groups. So if you decide that you decide, okay, so you say, you know what, Donald, this sounds great. I didn't want to jump in a mastermind group. We have a foundations course available that I teach. And then after you go through the foundations course, you go into our founders course, which is more advanced stuff, which has all 3 of us in there, has Darren, Pamela, and myself. But we also, when you get to that level too, we have a leadership book club that we do every week. And we study a great classic book to help you become a better leader. And right now, I know I saw the book in your hand. So that's why I
know. So one book is a book, an old book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Mm-hmm. I can't say enough good about it. Okay. Think and Grow Rich it's the Bible to business people who want to take life to the next level, who want to take your vision and your business and possibility thinking to the next level. Okay. So I can't say enough good about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It will only benefit you. It's an incredible book, but don't just read it. Don't audiobook it. You have to study it. There's so much in there. We're doing it as a study right now, a 16-week study. We're doing one chapter a week because you need time for it to really marinate and understand it. And the other good book that I just finished recently was Extreme Ownership, right? And Extreme Ownership is by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin.
Oh, you love that one.
Yeah, and it's just fantastic because you know what it does? And you got to be ready for this book, okay? But basically, everything that happens in your business and in your life, there's no wiggle room here. It's your fault. Everything is your fault, right? And if you could just take that extreme ownership and not say, this happened because this person did this or this person did this. No, if that person did that, it's your fault. Okay, it's your problem. You're the one who's leading this expedition of your business, and everything is your fault. So Extreme Ownership, I can't say enough good about it. I really enjoyed the book. Highly recommend it.
It will end up in our book club. So
yes, for sure.
It's the next one after Think and Grow Rich, right?
I hope so.
That's the one we already picked it. Remember, we already picked it.
Yes.
So, yeah. It's the next one. All right, Pam.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted you to go first, actually, because I would have said that one, but I thought that might be your answer. And
she knows Darren.
I do, and it's rare that I actually have read a book before Darren does. Usually I read the books that he recommends to me, but I read Extreme Ownership. I've read it twice now, and it's an awesome reminder of just everything that goes wrong. You have to look back at yourself and say, okay, now what could I have done? What can I do next time? So great book. I'm going to recommend, there's lots of them that kind of get to this point, but Know Your Strengths is a book that I really love, and there's a personality index in there. And but really, it could be any kind of really good personality index. but know yourself is essentially what that's about. Understand yourself, take a personality test of some kind, and make sure that you understand how you operate as a leader. And so I think that's really important. But one of them that I really like is called, it's not Know Your Strengths, it's Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like Marcus Buckingham. He's a really good author. He's a good speaker too. So you probably heard Darren mention that he's coming to Scottsdale. Him and Pamela are coming to Scottsdale. We are doing a 2-day live workshop. It's called Restaurant Owner Boot Camp, and it's free for qualified restaurants. I think we have 2 seats left. If you want details and want to apply, email me at donald@therestaurantcoach.com, and I'll make sure you get an application, the link to the application for it. It's going to be great. It's a real small group. We're actually going to start doing these throughout the year, different locations around the country. We decided to kick off this one in Scottsdale because I just recently moved here. And besides, Pam and Darren want some nice weather. So we're doing these strategically based on where we want to be. So now we're thinking like, all right, where do I want to be in June? That'll be our next one. Where do we want to be in June? That will be the next Restaurant Owner Boot Camp that we do. But again, and if you're ready just to jump into our mastermind group, you can jump right ahead. Of course, go to our website, restaurantssimplified.com. You can start your free trial right now. If you're like, you know what, I'm not sure if that's good for me or not, that's cool too. And what you can do is you can schedule a one-on-one strategy call with me. There's no charge for a one-on-one strategy call. Just go to my website, therestaurantcoach.com, schedule a session with me, and we'll talk and we'll have, you and I will have actually a crystal clear conversation about where you are, where you want to be. And I will give you some recommendations of what I might think is the best program for you. And if I can help you, and if Darren and Pam and I can help you, that's awesome. If there's someone else we might be a good recommendation to help you, like maybe you're doing a startup and you want something else, someone has more startup, we'll make the recommendation. Our goal has always been to help restaurants and to help you get the restaurant and the life you desire. If we can help you, great. If we can recommend someone else to help you, we will, because we just want you to get help. We want you to see you break free from where you are. So if you want time to schedule a one-on-one strategy call with me, just go to restaurantcoach.com, schedule that up. Again, no charge. So we're going to kind of wrap it up here. I got a couple of last questions. What's a quote you live by, Pam?
I'm going to say this is more of a rule that I live by than a quote, but I live by the golden rule. It's pretty simple. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
That's a good one. How about you, Darren?
My favorite quote is, "It's a story you're telling yourself."
That is a good one. You say it all the time in the mastermind group. Everyone, I think actually we made a little meme card that goes around the group. Everyone shares it.
That's it. Because, we have these beliefs set up in our head. We have these rules, and it's just a story. It's a story you're telling yourself, right? If you think you can't do something, or you think it's not possible, that's just because it hasn't been done yet, or you haven't done it yet. And you're telling this story to yourself in your head that I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Tony Robbins says, change your story, change your life. And that's what it is. Stop telling yourself that story. Change your story. You will change your life. I promise.
Yeah. And my favorite quote, it's back on my wall, on my bookshelf. It's on the top. It's by Zig Ziglar. All my brands live by this kind of quote from Zig Ziglar. And it goes, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And we all believe that 100% with all our hearts. We want you to have the restaurant that you desire. We want you to have the life you deserve. And that's why we do what we do. So if we were going to give a little 3-step plan, and we're going to tease out, a couple other episodes here, what would you say is a 3-step plan to grow your profits?
Call us. I'm just kidding.
He's kind of kidding, but he's not really kidding.
Okay, so here's your 3-step plan. I'm going to need some help from Donald, probably where this is. But number 1 is define reality. Okay, figure out where you are. Wherever you think you are, you're probably wrong. We tend to overestimate ourselves. We tend to overestimate our results. It's probably not as great as you think it is. I'm not saying that bad, but it could be better than you think. So I would go to our website. We have a free tool on our website. It's called, the KPI challenge, we call it.
Mhm.
And it's an evaluation tool. Takes you 5 minutes to do it. You just put in some basic information on your restaurant, and it'll let you know the level of resource utilization you're working at right now, whether it's 40%, 50%, 60%. And you know what I want you to do? I'm going to challenge you to do something. Before you actually take that test and take that little challenge, I want you to write down on a piece of paper, where do you think your restaurant is efficiency-wise or utilization-wise? Are you running at 75%? Are you running at 80%? And then take the test and see what it says, okay? And then number two, so that's your first step, right? Define reality, figure out where you are. Second step is figure out where you want to be. Okay, where do you want to go, right? So if you're at 50%, do you want to get to 70%? Are you looking to get to 90%? Do you want to just get a little bit better, maybe 55%? But let's figure out where that destination is. Okay, so know where you are, and then know where you're heading. And then step 3, make a plan to get there, right? And if you could make that plan by yourself, all the more power to you. Go for it. And just do it so that you could start living the life of your dreams, living the life you intended when you opened your business. If you're not exactly sure how to make that route, it's kind of like when I'm going to Scottsdale. I could either head, a little bit southwest, and I'll probably hit Scottsdale at some point in time, or I could just use a GPS on my telephone, and it'll draw the course for me, right? So if you can't draw the course for yourself, call us. We would love to help you do that. And we'd be honored. Just the way I talked about honoring guests earlier, we'd be honored if you chose us to help you do that. So that's the 3-step plan. Define reality. Where are you? Where are you heading? And how do you want to get there?
Exactly. Yeah, we call it, we always say, know where you are, know where you want to go. And then we always say you want to create a map or a massive action plan.
Yep.
And the thing about a massive action plan, it has to be flexible, because I'm telling you right now, shit's going to happen. It's called life. Things are going to happen. Things are going to pull you off course. Things are going to distract you. But like Darren says it all the time in the mastermind groups, you got to hold your vision. You got to know, I'm heading to that mountain up there. I'm staying on track, and I'm going to get there. Now, do I have to maybe take some different roundabout ways? Yeah, but we're still going to that mountaintop. That's where we're going. So
that's exactly right.
And Darren mentioned the KPI challenge. You just go over to www.kpimastery.com. You'll see a button that says take the challenge. And then you'll see if you're watching the video right now, you can see the form. It's a pretty self-explanatory thing. It takes like 5 minutes to do. It's pretty easy. But that'll get you started. Yes. And now at least give you a little reality check about where your restaurant really is now. And I always recommend sit down when you do it. Don't stand.
Yeah, correct.
Sit down when you do it.
And for fun, just write down the numbers in advance. Where do you think you are resource utilization wise? Are you 50%, 60%? And you know what? Write down this other number too. What do you think is possible to make in additional income, right? Yeah. Do you think your restaurant could do $50,000 a year better? You think you could do $100,000 a year better? Write that number down. Just for fun.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yes.
Yeah. People are always, it's a great kind of wake up call. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. But you got to have fun with this stuff, right?
Yeah, you got to have fun with it. Got to have a lot of fun with it. So that's part 1 of our little session here for the Restaurant Coach podcast. Tune in for our next session, where we're going to dive a little deeper into some KPIs. Pam's going to take you a little bit more of the psychology behind it, how we're going to help you get your mindset right. And then we're going to talk about, like I said, we're talking about the difference between linear and multiplicative KPIs.
And even if you're not a data person, that has you on the edge of your seat, I promise. It's good stuff.
It's good stuff. Pam makes, I'm telling you, that's why I call her the data queen. She makes the complicated, where I can understand it, because I'm not a data kind of guy, but she can make it. I understand. Okay, I get it. I get that. So. But I want to say thanks again for showing up today. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Pamela. And I love working with you guys so much. And we will talk to everyone soon.
Okay. Thanks so much, Donald. Thanks, Pam. And thank you, everyone, for listening.